So this month is Techtember, and this is when you hear all the new product announcements, when you have to wake up at 6 in the morning just to get disappointed that you didn't get to pre-order a 380 or a PS5. And the truth of it is that many of us are probably hurting in the disposable income department, and a lot of us are probably trying to find side hustles to make some more money, especially for the holidays. And for a lot of people, that's streaming. There's more streamers than ever. There's more YouTube content popping up all over the place. And usually when you get started with this, you see a lot of beginner's guides, and pretty soon after that, you get that kind of gear acquisition syndrome. Like you need to get your new webcam for streaming. You need to get a new laptop so you can get a 1080p 60 FPS stream, and you need to get lights. You need to get these crazy cool Twitch overlays. You need to buy this course. And the truth of it is you really don't need any of that. Streaming, especially streaming, is all about just putting yourself out there, and there's no amount of production value that you can throw into a stream that will make your content interesting. It's really just, do people like watching with you? Do people like watching you play games? Do you do something else besides play games? Everyone plays games now on Twitch, so you need to do something interesting. You need to be funny or super good at games. So this video is just about getting you started with streaming with whatever you have now, because you need to find out if streaming is for you, because streaming is different from doing stuff on YouTube. You know, to be fair, it's kind of a grind and it's kind of a hustle. Like you need to run around and get people to just tune into your stream. There's no easy way to get discovered on Twitch. You have to be on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube. So this video is just whatever you have now. Get that stream live, see if you like it. So this episode of Stream Tech is streaming now with whatever you have. So the first part is going live. And if you're going to be streaming with your PC, doesn't matter if it's a PC or a Mac, what streaming software you use, they all use the same technology. So if you're on PC, it's going to be XSplit or OBS. If you're on Mac, it's probably just going to be OBS. What really matters is the CPU and GPU that are inside your PC or MacBook or laptop or whatever you have. So first up is encoding, right? And encoding is basically how you're going to send the video signal from your PC to the streaming site. Now, most people have to encode with their CPU. Now, your CPU, you need to look it up, look at my computer, and you need to see how many cores that you have. Now, you're going to need at least 4 cores to stream with. Preferably you have more. The more cores, the higher resolution. But if you just have 4 cores, or if you're not sure how many cores you have, the basic setting you want to go with, especially on your streaming software, is just go 1280 by 720p and 30 FPS. If you don't have a lot of cores and you set the super high 1080p or 4K resolution, well, it's going to eat up all your CPU resources. And if you're playing games, it's going to chug. Now, if you barely have 4 cores, I wouldn't even recommend streaming and playing games. I would just recommend doing some just chatting stuff. And the FPS, you know, if you're playing games, you want a nice 60 FPS, but you just want to give someone something watchable, 30 FPS is more than enough. Now, if you're a bit more savvy and maybe you have, say, like the latest Intel CPU or you have an NVIDIA GPU, then you're going to get access to this thing called hardware encoders. Now, hardware encoders, Intel has QuickSync and NVIDIA has NVENC. These are, again, in your coding settings in your software. You'll see a drop-down menu and options for hardware encoders. Now, if you have these are great because these basically take the work off the GPU or off the CPU, and they're like this separate chip that just does all the encoding work itself. So you can still play games without too much of a hit, and you can usually get pretty good quality, especially if you have a newer NVIDIA NVENC GPU. You can get really nice quality with those, and in a pretty inexpensive chip like a 1660 Ti is great for that. So just check your PC components. If you have a hardware encoder, use that. If you have a CPU only, at least 4 cores. I get a lot of questions of this on my videos. And if you don't know anything about your encoding settings, just stick with 1280 by 720. That's 720p and 30 FPS. And if it lags, drop down, don't go higher. If it doesn't lag too much, if it's manageable, then go up. But seriously, most people are not really going to tell the difference on a 720p stream. Now, the next most important setting is going to be the bitrate. Basically, the higher the bitrate, the better your video looks. But the bitrate that you set is determined by two factors. This is your internet upload speed and also the streaming site that you're broadcasting to. So do a speed test, set your bitrate accordingly. Now, to be honest, most streaming sites limit bitrate to about 8,000 bitrate. So just set it to that. That's the limit on Twitch. On Facebook, it's sometimes lower or higher. YouTube is really the only one that kind of lets you go crazy with bitrate. But, you know, test it, make sure your frames aren't dropping, but just try and give it as much bitrate as you can. If you're on a bad internet connection, well, again, like I said, stick to 720p, 30 FPS, because above that, you need really high bit rates. So if you have really bad potato internet, and let's say you can only give 1,000 bit rate, then I highly recommend that you lower the resolution of your stream. So set it to like a 480 quality, even set it to 25, maybe 20 FPS. Again, the point is to get your content out there, to get people to see you. And hey, maybe there's a little bit of charm with a retro 360p stream, as long as you're entertaining on it. So I understand that some of you don't even have a computer that's capable of streaming, but that doesn't mean you stop there. Maybe you have a PS4 or an Xbox One. Those have built-in streaming apps. I see streams that have hundreds of viewers that are doing really well, that are just streaming with the Xbox One Twitch app or the PS4 Twitch app. If you have a phone that's fairly new, pretty much any streaming platform, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, they all have streaming built into their apps. Any way you can get started and start building an audience, just go with whatever you have in front of you. All right, now you found some way to go live, but what's going to be the content? What's the most important part, right? So if you're on a PS4 and Xbox, it's the gameplay. Play some games, have some fun, get an audience. If you're on your cell phone, walk around, show what you're eating, do some mukbang, follow your cat, follow your dog around, do something, make that the content. Now, if you're on PC or Mac, you have a couple different choices, right? So most people, they're probably going to try gaming first, right? So to do that, you're going to need to find the game source in your streaming software. It's usually a pretty obvious option and it hooks into whatever game you're playing. If your computer can't handle the game, maybe try some web browser games. Play the Winnie the Pooh game or Minesweeper or something. You're going to use screen capture to do this. Now, if this doesn't work or you want to do something different, right? Maybe you want to react to stuff. You want to react to YouTube videos or Twitter videos or TikTok videos while you can, even though by the time this video comes out, you probably won't be able to do that either. You know, you can screen capture that and, you know, hopefully you have a fun laugh or fun personality, but most likely you're going to want to show your reactions, show your face. So you're going to need a webcam at least to do this. Now, the gold standard still for webcams is a Logitech C920. Can't beat it at its price with its quality. But again, this is about starting with what you have now, right? So if you have a laptop, it probably has a webcam built into it. It probably looks awful, but hey, make that part of the charm, you know, scuffed webcam. If you don't have that, say you're just on a PC desktop, then you probably do have another webcam that you haven't thought of, which is your cell phone. Now, your cell phone probably has a way better camera than whatever webcam's built into your computer or even webcam you have sitting around. The problem is how do you get your phone to be a webcam for your computer? Well, there's a lot of apps and they all generally work the same way. You install the app on your phone and then you install the app on your PC. Then you make sure your phone is on the same network as your PC, usually connected via Wi-Fi. You start the app on your phone, it sends a signal, an app pops up on your PC screen. It's probably gonna have a watermark on it on the free version. And then you either screen capture that into your streaming software or you add it as a virtual camera device. Now, most of the time when you do this, there is gonna be a delay in the video coming from the camera. So you will need to actually delay the audio from your microphone to match or sync with your voice, or maybe not, you know, have some fun with it. Look like one of those poorly dubbed movies from the 70s or something. But speaking of microphones, you know, let's talk about audio. So I think the thing that a lot of people overlook, especially when they first start streaming, is audio, especially like their microphone audio. Now, like I said, start with whatever you can. Like if you only have a laptop microphone, just do that. But just know, like once you start encoding, the fans are going to spin up and it's going to make a lot of noise. So if you're serious about this, the first thing I would say, even before like a webcam or something, invest a few bucks in a decent mic. It'll really pay off. But there's a couple free tricks that we can do here. So the first thing is almost every streaming app has a noise suppression tool. It helps a bit. The thing that'll probably help a bit more is the noise gate. So basically the noise gate, you set a threshold, right? And if the noise doesn't go above that threshold, then the microphone won't be active and it won't pick it up. And once you speak and you go above it, it'll pick up your voice. Now, if you're still making the noise, like the fans or the clicking, then that'll come through, but it helps kind of reduce that like ambient noise that just sits there. Now, if you're lucky enough to have an NVIDIA 10 series GPU or above, you'll have access to the NVIDIA Broadcast app, and this has really good noise suppression tools. Now, I will say, if it's a really noisy environment, it'll try and just get your voice to come through, but it's cutting so many frequencies that your voice is definitely going to sound different. Best advice, spend a few bucks, get a dynamic microphone, and try to stream in a relatively quiet environment. So if you follow the tips in this video, you should at least have a stable stream. Now, if it's a watchable stream, that's really up to you. It really comes down to the content. What do you find interesting about yourself? What's an interesting skill that you have? Do you have a really interesting thought or opinion? Do people say that you're funny? It's really up to you to figure it out. And usually there's someone interested out there. Might be hundreds, it might be thousands. You never know. I myself fell down some rabbit holes. Like I was watching iPad Pro reviews, and then I got really interested in how teachers were using iPad Pros to teach their students and the tutorials they were making on that. My wife showed me this whole crazy genre of dog mukbangs and obedience trainings. So just go out there, make the content, just try to avoid, spreading conspiracy theories or, wild stuff. With great power comes great responsibility. Anyway, I hope this video was useful. If you have any questions about streaming or getting started, definitely leave them in the comments. I love to help. Thanks again for watching. Give a like if this was helpful. Subscribe for more streaming tutorials. Catch you on the next one.